Hello. As some of you may know, the winter of 2024/2025 has not been the best in terms of weather. We've had several named storms, and I'm here today to have a look at the casualty of one of those, which is the B6236. This is a road that connects Blackburn to Haslingden. A sad tale of the slow decline of a road. Kind of feels like a metaphor for something, but I'm not sure what. Right then, so what happened? In the middle of January 2025 there was another storm hit the Lancashire area, quite a severe one, and as a result of that storm a section of the B6236 Haslingden Road was washed away. A culvert failed and there's now a gaping hole where the road should be. It was announced this week in February 2025 that it's going to take at least a year. That's assuming that it even starts construction relatively soon to repair the damage. So it raises the question, given that other roads such as the Snake Pass have been in the news recently with similar problems, are we reaching a point where roads across the moors have now been so fatally starved of investment that the slightest weather problem now becomes a major hazard to the continued existence of the infrastructure? And I think it's just a little bit sapping of your energy when you think that the road network is just falling to bits everywhere. I mean, examples all over the country: the A20 Sidcup bypass with the surface water and that 40-mile-an-hour speed limit, vast stretches of A road in Wales where central reserve safety fences are defective and now have temporary speed limits while people try and figure out how they're going to pay to fix assets which are essential components of the highway. I mean, we did say when you starve things of investment and maintenance, this is what happens. The time bomb has gone off now, and until we start to seriously consider the condition of highway assets and how they're going to be maintained and who's paying for that, and a rolling maintenance and inspection regime that tries to insulate against the effects of extreme weather, especially as climate change and the like gets worse. But I can't see it happening. Our politicians don't seem to care. They just want to have shiny new things to open and cut ribbons on, like airport terminals and runways, rather than maybe looking at what we've already got that's not working and asking why is it not working. Transport's in such a mess. It's happening on the railways, it's happening on the roads, it's happening with active travel, it's happening with buses, it's just everything. Well, that was a rather macabre rant, really, wasn't it? Given that we looked at a hole in the road and it led to all that. But as I said at the start of the video, you know, it does feel like it's a metaphor for something. I mean, you got to remember, people live on roads like this. These closures do have a massive effect that is not considered by a lot of people. It's not just a simple case of, oh, just drive round. You know, if you think it's like it's adding several miles to people's journeys, however they make them. It's not ideal, is it? Right then, I'm going to give a brief history lesson of this road and why I wouldn't normally be able to stand here. But back in 1922, when roads were first given numbers, this was designated as the A677. It connected Haslingden in the east, via Blackburn in the middle, to the A59 at Mellowbrook. Now, there were several alterations with regards to the A59 and A677 with Samlesbury Aerodrome, but that's not really relevant for the purpose of what I'm talking about here. This bit of road lost all its grandiose status in 1997 when the M65 was opened. Well, this half of the A677 did. It was always non-primary from the day when primary routes were invented, and that's because it's of slightly lesser importance than the busier western half, which still exists. But there was always a problem with the design of the connections at the Haslingden end. So when the Haslingden bypass was completed in 1981, the A677 here didn't connect directly to it. You had to still use the old A680 through the centre of town to come out to the roundabout at Rising Bridge, whereas bizarrely direct slip roads had been built from the Grain Road pointing towards Bury and Manchester. So a lot of traffic coming out of Blackburn started to use that route, and traffic volumes on it just shot through the roof. It was actually renumbered as A6177 for a while, before somebody pointed out the A6177 was already a number in use in Bradford for their ring road. Eventually a decision was taken, with all the mounting safety problems on the Grain Road, to restrict HGVs, and it was then renumbered back to the old B road, B6232. So you've now got two B roads connecting Blackburn and Haslingden, and the official strategic route is M65, A56 via the Accrington Easterley bypass, and if you're keeping up with all this, then you're doing very well, because it's very tedious, I know, but it just shows how the hills around here make it very difficult to do any transport planning. You know, these hills are very unforgiving. They are a hostile environment for us humans. Everyone says, oh, you know, there's a reason, you know, that Lancashire grey, you know, you grow up on these hills, it makes you a bit... We've got to deal with fog and rain and cold all the time. Getting roads around here isn't easy. So that aside, yes, it's pretty much the story of why this has now become a very sad and lonely place for, you know, me to be able to stand in the middle of it. But yeah, in 100 years it's gone from being a major road between two towns to being a whole. As always, if you enjoy my content, I would be so appreciative if you could give me a like or a subscribe. That's entirely up to you. There's also the option to support me on Patreon or Ko-fi, like these lovely people on this slide that I'm now displaying do. Their support helps me do this kind of stuff, and it's much appreciated. And it just makes the world a better place sometimes to know that you're appreciated. I think, as it is still a bit cold, even though we're mid-February now, I think I'm going to go and get warm now. Bye!